Hi and welcome to E-ZTutoring. Today we're going to cover how you can solve radical inequalities. So it's very similar to solving radical equations, except that at the end you need to test the intervals which you find. You can't just find the interval for your answer and say that's your answer, because we're dealing with all these square roots and squares, so some of them might not be true. You guys will see what I mean at the end. For now, all we need to do is solve it like a regular radical equation by getting the radical by itself. So let's go ahead and add 3 to both sides to get this radical by itself. So now we get that all this is less than or equal to 7. So now once you have your radical by itself, all you want to do is square both sides. Square both sides, and the square and the square root cancel. We're left with x plus 5, which is what we want. No more radical. Awesome. Less than or equal to 7 squared is 49. Subtract the 5 on both sides so we can get the x by itself, and x is less than or equal to 44. Alright, so a lot of people will say at this point, oh, x is less than 44, that's their answer. Not exactly. Now here's why. You need to take a look at your restrictions. Now what are restrictions? Well, we're dealing with square roots, which means we have a very specific domain. Square roots can never be negative. So this whole thing inside the square root, x plus 5, there is a restriction on that. So what is the smallest number you're allowed to have inside a square root? That answer is 0. You're allowed to have anything that is greater than or equal to 0. So we take x plus 5, set it greater than or equal to 0, and solve for x. We can do that by simply subtracting 5 on both sides. X is greater than or equal to negative 5. Alright, so now we got this interval and this interval. So these are some very important numbers, critical numbers if you'd say. So what you need to do is you actually need to test the intervals at what you're given and above what you're given. Never below, because anything below negative 5 would cause us to get a negative square root, which we know is clearly not going to work. So let's take a look at negative 5 and 44. So we know that everything less than negative 5 clearly doesn't work because we have negative square roots. Now, in between them, it obviously looks like that's what's going to be our answer because we know x is less than or equal to 44 and x is greater than or equal to negative 5. It really looks like that's what's going to be our answer, but you have to test it. We can test it by plugging in any number in between negative 5 and 44. 0 is a very good candidate, or actually not that good, because then we'd get square root 5. So how about we plug in 4, which is in between them. 4 plus 5, I'll go ahead and write this out. Square root of 4 plus 5 minus 3 is less than or equal to 4. This is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0, which is definitely less than or equal to 4. So this interval works, this one does not. Let's test this last interval. So a good number to plug in there would be 45. The reason for that is because we would get, oh, I'm sorry, no, not 45. I meant to say 44. But we would want something above it. Now, I'm trying to find numbers that'll give us a perfect square just so we don't deal with too many decimals. So the next perfect square is 64, which means x needs to be 59. So we are going to try out a 59 plus 5 minus 3 less than or equal to 4. Let's see if that works. 59 plus 5 is 64. Square root of 64 is 8. That's why I chose that number. Minus 3 is less than or equal to 4. 8 minus 3, 5, less than or equal to 4. Definitely not true. This interval does not work. This is the only interval that works. Therefore, x is going to be greater than or equal to negative 5 and less than or equal to 44. Now I say equal to because that's what these signs say. So you can combine those together, put x in the middle, say that it's less than or equal to 44, greater than or equal to negative 5, and that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is your answer. Never skip this step. Always test your intervals. Very important when dealing with square roots. Alright, so that is how you solve square root inequalities. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys ever want SAT or ACT help, be sure to visit my website, www.e-ztutoring.com. Thank you guys, and good luck with this.